Hello and welcome to the Designer Market Update. Today is Monday, January 13th, 2025. So I hope you had a reasonably nice weekend. Let's take a look at Bitcoin price action. Currently, Bitcoin is trading at around $93,600 per coin. The network hash rate, it still remains somewhat subdued relative to recent levels, right? It's at about 777. And hash prices, most importantly, are actually a little bit on the lower side, even at about 53. So again, as we've said before, hash prices are really what drive Bitcoin mining company economics. So the higher the hash prices, generally speaking, the more profitable revenue Bitcoin mining companies can produce. So speaking of Bitcoin mining companies, let's go ahead and take a look at today's leaderboard, so to speak. So in the very top spot, barely, was CleanSpark, right? They were up just fractionally, just about like 1% or so. The next two companies, Riot and Hut 8, were actually down. And so that's why the medals are sort of like sideways, right? It's hard to give someone a full silver medal simply for being down, nearly 2%, right? Now, Bitfarms, down about 3% today. I'll tell you something. I'm not very inspired by what I'm seeing insofar as the way Bitcoin mining stocks have been trading. In the rock bottom position today was Canaan. They were down nearly 10%. Let's pull up another chart, if we may, please. So this is basically a chart that depicts, it's a one-year chart. This is Marathon, CleanSpark, Riot, Hut 8, and Bitfarms. So over the past year, this is the kind of performance we've seen. Now, I do want to highlight Hut 8 as having been up over 130%. I don't know that anybody would have necessarily predicted that a year ago. Congratulations to Hut 8 and to, Hut 8 shareholders. That is a phenomenal return. CleanSpark, hey, a very respectable 33, nearly 34% rise. Marathon down about 3%. Riot up just a fractional 4% or so. And down at the very bottom, Bitfarms, back to me now, please. Bitfarms down, like 32+% in the past year. So, you look at a chart like that and you sort of say to yourself, okay, a lot of these stocks had actually been much higher about a year ago. Now, not all of them, but many of them were trading at somewhat more elevated prices, right? What's really going on then? I mean, if we're having this, what appears to be a bull run in the price of Bitcoin, even though, Bitcoin's trading at about $93,000 a coin, right? It's not at $100,000, but still it's up dramatically since early November of 2024. Why haven't these Bitcoin mining stocks participated? And there's been a lot of, I think, analysis and conversation about that. Some hypotheses are, hey, these are heavily shorted and heavily manipulated stocks. Some have pointed out, and I'm sort of more in this camp, well, hash prices have not necessarily been that great, right? So when you have one of the core, revenue inputs for a Bitcoin mining company not doing so well, it's understandable that perhaps the stock price itself not be doing so well. But ultimately, if the stock market, which I truly do believe to be true, right? If the stock market is a forward indicator, well, then why wouldn't Bitcoin mining stocks, maybe be running up a little bit in anticipation of Bitcoin potentially going much higher? I think I've said before, right? Hey, I do believe that there's a very real opportunity for Bitcoin to move substantially above $100,000 a coin now in 2025. As to whether or not the United States government is going to go into the open market and start buying Bitcoin, I'm not so sure about that, right? What I do think would be a phenomenal thank you from the U.S. federal government, the new incoming administration, a phenomenal thank you to the industry, to the Bitcoin industry, right, as a whole, that supported this incoming administration. I think the best gift would just be a regulatory overhaul. Hey, we're going to stop going after people for hey, some sort of like breaking of a rule that nobody even understands and nobody even understands how to enforce. The regulators don't even know like what kind of rules they're making. Like, why not just strip away a lot of the regulations? Just let the market figure things out. And I think and believe that we are going to see that. And that by itself, right, just creating, hey, a streamlined regulatory environment where there's clarity, right? Not this like, hey, am I going to get sued by the SEC? Did I say something wrong in this broadcast? Am I on the target list, right? All that uncertainty, if we just strip that away, I think that's a phenomenal environment in which Bitcoin can actually thrive. I don't know that it really requires, as some might say, oh, well, the US government's got to start buying Bitcoin because that's got to pump the price up. Yeah, I mean, sure. If the US federal government said we're going to buy 1 million BTC, not $1 million worth, but actual like 1 million coins, of course, yeah, it would send the price of Bitcoin to Pluto, but I don't know how politically feasible that is given the nature of the US budget and some of the concerns regarding that, as well as the efforts, right, to try to reduce government spending, not increase it on of all things buying Bitcoin, right? So I'm optimistic. I truly, genuinely am that we are going to see Bitcoin mining stocks do well, provided that, and this is especially relevant for Bitfarms, provided that we see operational execution that is on point. And so to that end, I am very much looking forward to seeing, if not the live presentation, then certainly the replay of the presentation that's going to be made at the Needham Growth Conference in New York City on, I believe it's either going to be the 14th, meaning tomorrow, or the 15th. I think Bitfarms presents on the 15th. I'll double check. But I'm very much interested in hearing what Bitfarms has to say about where they're at and, more importantly, where they're going. And I think if we start to see Bitfarms in particular really hit on those execution milestones, rolling out the hash rate, really developing, right, both Scrubgrass in Western Pennsylvania, Panther Creek in Eastern Pennsylvania. Those are, of course, the Stronghold digital mining assets, right, amongst many, right, that are being acquired by Bitfarms when they acquire Stronghold. If we really see some incredibly ambitious, interesting growth plans for those sites, while at the same time hitting milestones that are achievable right now, I really do believe that the price of Bitfarms, right, trading where it's at right now, it's, from my perspective, not investment advice. I think the stock could double. I really do. I know that sounds kind of nuts, right? Because you say to yourself, dude, like, hey, listen, I've been a Bitfarms shareholder for a while now. Like, I'm barely hanging on. I hear you. And I know that some of y'all have decided, you know what, I got to put Bitfarms aside for the time being, focus on some other investments within the Bitcoin mining ecosystem. I respect that and I hear you. But by the same token, if this company, Bitfarms, starts hitting on its execution milestones, puts out a really ambitious, doable, realistic growth agenda, and really starts to deliver on its results, right, I think we are going to see a re-rating or a potential re-rating of the stock price, which to me right now does not reflect, I think, a lot of the potential growth that this company has before it. Not hypothetical growth, not like, hey, we're going to throw a Hail Mary. No, I mean like realistic growth that can happen in the next couple of quarters. So we will have to see. We're going to end today with a quote that I saw. I couldn't take a picture of it and I didn't write it down, but it basically went like this. It was on the back of a school bus that was parked near this park where I sometimes take walks. And it said, more or less, it said, to start living the dream, first you have to wake up. And I thought to myself, that's kind of interesting. To start living the dream, first you have to wake up. So my friend, to the extent you have some really great ambitious dreams that you think about a lot, hey, we all collectively, myself included, we need to sort of step away from the dreaming, sort of like come into full consciousness, wake up, so to speak, and then go after our dreams and goals with clarity, with focus, and with persistence. And ultimately, I do believe we can achieve most things, if not all things, we truly set our mind to. Okay, with all of that said, let's stay positive, let's be great, and we'll see each other again tomorrow.